Shalom, brothers and sisters. So let's look at some of the worldwide reactions to the surprise attack against Israel by Hamas. Arab League. Israel's continued implementation of violent and extremist policies is a time bomb depriving the region of any serious opportunity for stability. So they blame Israel. Brazil. The Brazilian government condemns the series of bombings and ground attacks carried out today in Israel, starting from the Gaza Strip. Urging both parties to avoid escalating the situation. Okay, Belgium strongly condemns the massive rocket attacks against Israeli civilians. Violence and terror only perpetuates suffering and hinders the path to dialogue. Interesting. We are monitoring the situation closely. China. Beijing is deeply concerned by the dramatic escalation of violence between Israel and the Palestinians, urging all sides to show calm. It calls on all parties to remain calm and exercise restraint, cease fire immediately, protect civilians, and prevent further deterioration of the situation. The Taiwan people. Czech Republic. The attack conducted from the Gaza Strip is a deplorable act of terrorism against the state of Israel and the civilian population. President Petr Pavel. The rocket attacks and infiltration of Hamas commandos into Israel will block any efforts for a peaceful solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict for a long time. European Commission. I unequivocally condemn the attack carried out by Hamas terrorists against Israel. It is terrorism in its most despicable form. Israel has the right to defend itself against such heinous attacks. That's quite impressive coming from Ursula von der Leyen. Egypt warned of grave consequences from an escalation in tensions between Israel and the Palestinians in a statement. It called for exercising maximum restraint and avoiding exposing civilians to further danger. France. Macron. I strongly condemn the terrorist attacks which are currently hitting Israel. I express my full solidarity with the victims and the families of those close to them. Jordan. Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi warned of the volatility of the situation, particularly in light of what cities and areas of the West Bank are witnessing of Israeli attacks and violations against the Palestinian people. Really? Told you this was going to happen. Germany. Terrifying news reached us today from Israel. We are deeply shocked by the rocket fire from Gaza and the escalating violence. Germany condemns these attacks by Hamas and stands by Israel. Greece strongly condemns today's launch of heavy rocket attacks from Gaza against Israel. Greece stands with Israel and is deeply concerned by this unacceptable escalation of violence. Hezbollah. The Lebanese armed group Hezbollah issued a statement saying it was closely following the situation in Gaza and was in direct contact with the leadership of the Palestinian resistance. They have since joined publicly. Indian Prime Minister Modi said that the country stood in solidarity with Israel at this difficult hour, is deeply shocked by the news of the terrorist attacks. Iran. We congratulate the Palestinian fighters, it quoted. We will stand by the Palestinian fighters until the liberation of Palestine and Jerusalem. In this operation, the element of surprise and other combined methods were used, which show the Palestinian people's confidence in the face of occupiers. It proves that the Zionist regime is more vulnerable than ever and that the initiative is in the hands of Palestinian youth. Italy backs Israel's right to defend itself against brutal attack. It condemns in the strongest terms the terror and violence underway against innocent civilians. Israel. We are at war. We will win. Our enemy will pay a price the type of which has never been known. Japan condemned the rocket launches and cross-border attacks by Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups. Japan urges all parties to exercise utmost restraint to prevent further harm. Kuwait expressed grave concern over developments between Israel and the Palestinians, blaming Israel for its blatant attacks. Please stop the provocative practices by the occupation. Morocco, the Kingdom of Morocco expresses deep concern at the deterioration of the situation and the outbreak of military action in the Gaza Strip. NATO, our thoughts are with the victims of all those affected. Terrorism is a fundamental threat to free society, and Israel has the right to defend itself. Shocking. Palestinian President Abbas. He said the Palestinian people have the right to defend themselves. How are you defending yourselves when you're attacking and killing civilians? Against the terror of settlers and occupation troops. Is speaking at an emergency meeting in Ramallah. Poland, I strongly condemn Hamas' ongoing attacks on Israel. This baseless aggression and acts of violence, especially against civilians, is unacceptable. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone affected. Qatar issued a statement saying Israel alone was responsible for the escalation of violence, calling on both sides to stop. Russia said in the contact with Israel, it goes without saying that we will always call for restraint. Saudi Arabia calls for an immediate cessation of violence between Israel and the Palestinians. We are following the unprecedented developments between a number of Palestinian factions and Israel, which has led to a high level of violence on a number of fronts. Spain, we strongly condemn the very serious terrorist attacks from Gaza against Israel. Overwhelmed by this indiscriminate violence, all our solidarity is with the victims. Turkey, Erdogan called on Israelis and Palestinians to act with restraint and refrain from hostile acts that could exacerbate the situation. But too late for that, buddy. We call for restraint from all parties. They must refrain from aggressive acts. Ukraine, Zelensky condemned the terror attack on Israel and said Israel's right to defend itself cannot be doubted. UAE calls for the exercise of maximum restraint and an immediate ceasefire to avoid serious repercussions. The UAE has expressed its sincerest condolences to all victims of the recent crisis. The UK criticized the attack by Hamas. The UK unequivocally condemns the horrific attacks by Hamas on Israeli citizens. The UK will always support Israel's right to defend itself. United Nations, this is a dangerous precipice and I appeal to all to pull back from the brink. Too late. Secretary General Antonio Guterres is deeply concerned for the civilian population and urges maximum restraint. United States, the appalling Hamas terrorist attacks in Israel. President will continue to receive updates and White House officials remain in close contact with Israeli partners. They condemn the unprovoked attacks, yada yada bing bang. Venezuela, government expressed deep concern over the clashes. Yemen, Houthi rebels who control Sana'a expressed their support for the heroic jihadist operation. And that's that. You see how many people stand against Israel. Pray for Israel. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Shalom.